PGMOL chief Howard Webb needs to take more responsibility to appoint match officials to oversee different teams after Peter Banks officiated Newcastle for the fourth time this season recently, that is according to former PGMOL chief and ex-FIFA referee, Hackett, who exclusively told Football Insider that he can understand fans' frustrations when officials are constantly covering their games and more effort must be made to change things up. Peter Banks was the man in the middle as Newcastle beat Fulham 2-1 at St James Park on Saturday, 25th of October, through a late Bruno Guimaraes winner. The 43-year-old has now been involved in the officiating process of 4 Magpies games already this season, with 3 as referee and another on VAR. Newcastle fans were up in arms at his performance on Saturday as he was forced to step in at the last minute for Tony Harrington, and he was booed off at half-time for some controversial calls on the handling of Nick Wolt made by the Cottagers defenders. Banks did himself no favors with Newcastle fans versus Fulham. Hackett told Football Insider earlier in October that Banks had failed to award Newcastle a clear penalty against Nottingham Forest as Dan Burn was wrestled to the floor by Morata. This past weekend was his third time refereeing Eddie Howe's side already this season, after games against Leeds and Forest, and he again gained little support from the St James Park stands for the way he oversaw proceedings. Burly Newcastle striker Wolt likes to get involved in the physical battle, which is no surprise given his size, but home fans were enraged at his treatment against Fulham as he looked to be constantly getting fouled, but the visitors were rarely penalised for their rough actions. Magpies boss Howe spoke about the injustice that his striker felt earlier this week, saying, "There were 1 or 2, looking at the weekend, that I think were fouls that weren't given. Yes, I think that's fair to say, and I think Nick felt the same way. But I think Nick is going to have to come up with all sorts of different challenges from defenders however they see best to defend against him. He's going to face a lot of different challenges this season because it's all new to him, but I think that will be a learning experience, the Fulham game, for him." Hackett tells PGMOL boss Webb to spread officials across games to avoid more Banks-esque drama. Speaking exclusively to Football Insider about Banks' Newcastle controversy and the frequency at which he has overseen their games this season, the former referee called on Howard Webb to take more responsibility to spreading his officials across more matches going forward to avoid more frustration from fans. He said, "I have a big issue because I think with the appointment of match officials to games, every effort should be made, which I would do with a spreadsheet, to spread them out. Peter Banks is not alone. 6 weeks into the season, Jared Gillett had Arsenal 4 times. Whoever is doing the appointing, it is ultimately Howard Webb's responsibility. I understand there is a risk of exposure, but the reality is that, when referees travel to Europe, that should be taken into account. Someone officiating in Europe on Thursday should not be appointed for a game on Saturday.